WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio. Broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Togo decides today as over 3 million voters head to the polls in major municipal elections. Burkina Faso's transitional government dissolves Independent Electoral Commission.
In the
context of the refounding of the state, a reflection has resulted in the drafting of a bill. The so-called bill is a dissolution of the National Independent Electoral Commission.
Sur le processus électoral, limitant par la même occasion les influences étrangères.
Massive protest erupts in Liberia against President Boakai leadership.
The masses are coming outside peacefully. Those that were dismissed illegally, those that withdrew from the foreign service, rather, this is the time to rise and to say enough is enough.
An association of lawyers in Guinea suspends strike following negotiations with government. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Thank you for joining our broadcast. This edition begins here in Senegal as several security experts, including policy makers, civil society activists, and West African youths are meeting in Dakar to discuss the security crisis in the Central Sahel, which has now extended to Senegal's border. Stakeholders at WDR's public debate on the security situation in the Central Sahel, its proximity to Senegal, have provided community engagement and diplomatic dialogue as among serious ways of curbing insecurity on the Senegalese borders and by far the Central Sahel. Senegal in recent times have experienced a genuine terrorist attack on eastern border with Mali, having devastating impacts on lives and properties. In an interview with the board of directors of WDR, Suleiman Nyang expressed optimism that insecurities can cope through extensive citizens' engagement.
We know that Senegalese government is ready militarily, on the military side. We know that, our army is prepared, our police forces are prepared, you have contingency plans and everything. This is the institutional approach. What is lacking is the integration of the alternative conflict resolution strategies developed by our communities. And this is the way to go. It is to add this, dimension of conflict prevention and resolution when it happens. And that's the very essence of the project. It is to inform our communities on what's going on, because everybody has to be at the same level in terms of information, and share the analysis of our communities and then integrate the alternative and indigenous ways of, resolving the issues in our communities. And this is key if we want to be efficient. Otherwise, this crisis that is just mushrooming in our region will not spare any country in the region. So we have one last opportunity to change our approaches of, resolving our issues by integrating this, community-based, oriented approaches.
Suleiman Nyang is the board of director of WADR. Let's head to Togo, where more than 3 million registered voters are heading to the polls today to elect municipal councillors across the country's various municipalities. Over 1,000 municipal councillors are expected to be elected within Togo's 117 municipalities. Ahead of today's election, Togolese citizens observed a traditional day of electoral silence on Wednesday. Influencers and bloggers had called for demonstrations to take place on July 16 and July 17 across the country. Christopher Atichi reports.
While influencers and bloggers had called for a demonstration on July 16 and 17 in Lomé, relative calm prevailed in the city on Wednesday. Traffic in the city center was flowing smoothly, and public administration, along with most services, were operating normally. Businesses that had closed during the late June protests have since reopened. Security forces were stationed at various strategic locations throughout the city, particularly in areas that had been sensitive during the recent demonstrations. On Tuesday, Lomé welcomed international observers in anticipation of the municipal elections, and briefing for the accredited observers was held in the city on July 15. The observers, mostly from African institutions like the Council of Itente, received information about the legal, logistical and security aspect of organizing the municipal elections. This Thursday, more than 3 million voters are expected to cast their ballots at polling stations to elect 1,527 municipal councillors across Togo's 117 municipalities. A total of 494 lists from various political parties and independent candidates are competing in this local election. It's important to note that since the 2019 local elections, Togo has been making strides towards more participatory governance, focusing on closer connections to citizens and ensuring the accountability of local authorities.
A report from Sylvie Guadrago in Lomé, voiced by Christopher Atichu. Meanwhile, Togolese authorities have issued an international arrest warrant for members of the M66 movement, a diaspora-led group of bloggers and artists calling for protests against the government. Among those targeted is France-based singer Zaga Bambo. The warrant follows deadly demonstrations linked to the movement, which continues to mobilize online and has called for a new protest on July 16 and 17. Just ahead of municipal elections. In response, the government has tightened security in Lomé, deploying armed patrols and closing land borders as of midnight. Authorities accuse the M66 of terrorism and sub-regional destabilization as the key to maintain strong control ahead of the vote. In Burkina Faso, the transitional authorities have dissolved the Independent National Electoral Commission, CENI. Elections will now be organized by the ministry responsible for territorial administration. This decision was made by the government during the Council of Ministers on Wednesday, July 16, 2025. According to the authorities, this change aims to facilitate the organization of free and independent election while also reducing its state expenditure. Here is an extract of Burkina Interior Minister Emile Zabo's speech on the matter as he was leaving the Council of Ministers.
Dans le cadre de la refondation de l'État et de la dynamisation des réformes institutionnelles engagées,
in the context of the refounding of the state and the dynamization of the institutional reforms committed in order to optimize the state functioning charges, a reflection has resulted in the drafting of a bill whose transmission before the Legislative Assembly of Transition was authorized by the Council of Ministers of that day. The so-called bill is a dissolution of the National Independent Electoral Commission, created in its current form by Law No. 14-2001-AN of July 3, 2001, which is subsidized by nearly €500 million each year. The existence of this structure today is a total inconsistency with the provisions of the Transition Charter, in addition to being budgetary.
Contrôle souverain sur le processus électoral, limitant par la même occasion les influences étrangères.
Burkina Faso's Interior Minister Emile Zabo.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
For more political issues, let's travel to Nigeria, where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, a move that has been long anticipated. This decision was confirmed through an official communication submitted to the PDP by Abubakar. Despite the latest development, a prominent party leader, Governor Seyi Makinde, insists that the PDP remains strong and resilient. WDR's Usman Omar in Abuja has the details in this report.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has resigned from the People's Democratic Party (PDP), citing irreconcilable differences. The decision, however, did not come with a bang, but rather through a calmly calculated letter. Dated July 14 and addressed to his ward chairman in Adamawa, Atiku stated that the People's Democratic Party has drifted away from the ideals on which it was founded. After decades of back and forth, he has decided to say goodbye again. This move was not unexpected. For months, there have been strong indications that Atiku was preparing to realign himself ahead of the 2027 general elections. He is now part of a new opposition coalition, a combination of political heavyweights, including Peter Obi, Nasir El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi, and others. They have chosen the African Democratic Congress, ADC, as the new platform, with the former Senate President David Mark and ex-Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola appointed as interim leaders. Atiku's political journey spans multiple parties and decades, from the PDP to the Action Congress in 2007, then to the APC in 2015, and back again. However, after two unsuccessful presidential campaigns under the PDP in 2019 and 2023, this may be his final break from the party. Nevertheless, PDP insiders are not overly worried. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State dismissed concerns that Atiku's departure would lead to the party's demise. Shortly after the news broke, Makinde stated that the PDP remains solid regardless of the former vice president's exit.
I don't think that will make any dent on PDP as a party. PDP is an institution, right? You have freedom of entrance and exit. But I think anyone that will hold PDP down is better for such individuals too.
With coalitions forming and political camps shifting, the path to the 2027 general elections is already taking shape. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Away from Nigeria, a major protest against the government of Liberia is set to take place today, July 17, in the capital city, Monrovia. Organized by the Solidarity of Trust for a New Stand, the protesters aim to demand accountability from President Joseph Bokai's administration. Under the theme, Enough is Enough, the organizers accused the government of mismanagement public resources, demonstrating poor leadership and worsening economic conditions that have severely impacted ordinary Liberians. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The demonstration has garnered support from various social and political groups, including the Progressive Students Alliance and the Youth and Women League of the Opposition Congress for Democratic Change, as well as concerned citizens. In a statement on Wednesday, Moba Malu, chairman of Stand and the lead organizer of the protest, emphasized the determination of the Liberian people to protest peacefully.
It's a national holiday in the Republic of Liberia. The masses are coming outside peacefully. Those that were dismissed illegally, those that withdrew from the foreign service, statement rather, this is the time to rise and to say enough is enough.
At the same time, police authorities, represented by Deputy Inspector General Nelson Freeman, have assured protection for the protesters. However, they warned that the premises of Capitol Hill, which houses the executive mansion, the legislature, and the Temple of Justice, will be off limits for public demonstrations.
From the unknown soldier towards the executive mansion, which is front entrance to the legislature, will be a no-go, so they will be allowed to converge on the other side of the Capitol.
Additionally, motorcyclists protesting a recent ban on their movement have endorsed the demonstration and called upon the government to respect civil rights.
The government is intimidated. The reason people do protest is some of us reason with it. One, US rate. Two, they're disturbing the marketeers.
But the first time when government like came on the registration, that we register and get all of their documents without complaint.
As the protesters gathered today, civil society organizations, including the Liberia Council of Churches and several international partners, have urged all participants to remain peaceful while exercising their constitutional rights. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. We are also live at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Togo decides today as over 3 million voters head to the polls in major municipal elections. Burkina Faso's transitional government dissolves Independent Electoral Commission Seni. Massive protests erupts in Liberia against President Bokai's leadership. Still ahead in the news, Association of Lawyers in Guinea suspend strike following negotiations with government. We also have press review, guest interview and sport news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
To some judicial matters now. In Guinea, the Association of Lawyers has suspended its strike order after 3 weeks of boycotting courts and tribunals in response to the kidnapping of one of their colleagues. This decision was made during an extraordinary General Assembly of Guinean lawyers held on Wednesday, organized by the Guinea Bar Association. It follows several days of internal discussions and ongoing negotiations with the highest authorities in Guinea. That has the details in the following report.
During a crucial meeting, the lawyers unanimously decided to end their strike, which had called for the identification and prosecution of the kidnappers of their colleague, Mohamed Traore. This boycott had paralyzed the functioning of courts and tribunals across the country, preventing many legal cases from proceeding as usual. According to Musa Jallo, a member of the Bar Council, the decision to end the strike was made to allow negotiations between the bar and the Guinean authorities to progress and reach a resolution.
We have evaluated everything that was put in place since the resolution was taken for the first time. We realized that there were some actions. At the end of the evaluation of everything that was put in place, we found it useful to suspend the strike order to give a chance to what all this could lead to.
The Guinean lawyers had initiated this boycott following the unclear circumstances surrounding the kidnapping of one of their colleagues, which had raised serious concerns within the profession. The incident underscored the critical issue of lawyers' safety while performing their duties and highlighted the need to enhance protection for legal professionals against threats and intimidation. Musa Jallo noted that there has been progress in the negotiations with the transitional authorities.
There were meetings, twice in fact, with the Prime Minister, the head of government, around whom there were personalities from the public administration and the judiciary, and not the least. And then there was this procedure, which we had done, which also had its impact. Today, the baronet Mohamed Traore has been audited by the police officer. So these are acts that we have been able to count.
However, the lifting of the boycott does not signify the end of the lawyers' mobilization efforts. The Guinean Bar Association emphasized that this decision is merely a pause in the fight for improved security and respect for lawyers' rights. Additional meetings are planned to closely monitor the progress of negotiations with the authorities and to assess the security measures that will be implemented.
Imo Edet with the details of Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Balde's report from Conakry. In Ghana, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association GRNMA has solved its planned industrial action after securing significant commitment from the government during a meeting held on Monday, July 15, 2025. GNRMA leadership says while the issues remain sensitive, government's latest assurances offer enough grounds for continued dialogue rather than confrontation. GRNMA had earlier warned of a possible strike over unresolved concerns about conditions of service, a move that prompted an intervention from the government stakeholders. Now the dictator reports.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, GRNMA, has officially suspended its industrial action following fruitful engagement with government representatives on Monday, July 15, 2025. Addressing the press, the GRNMA President, Perpetual Ofori Ampofo, announced that the association is satisfied for now with commitments made by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Ministry of Finance during the latest round of talks. A key highlight of the agreement is government's pledge to factor fuel allowances into the upcoming mid-year budget review, though the allowances will be based on standard government-approved rates.
on the 8% non-basic allowance, which was intended to appreciate the market premium of nurses and midwives upwards, the employer was emphatic that there were serious distortions which has affected the market premium of nurses and midwives, and that they would take urgent steps to rectify same. All other items as contained in the Appendix B of the collective agreement are to be costed and included in the 2026 national budget. The National Council of the Association at this point in time has taken a decision to halt all intended industrial actions pending the full implementation of the entirety of the collective agreements.
The latest development follows a series of actions taken by the GRNMA in recent weeks. The association embarked on a protest on June 2, 2025, which escalated into a full withdrawal of services by June 9 over delays in implementation of agreed benefits. Following intervention by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, the association suspended its strike on June 13 and returned to the negotiation table with government and key stakeholders. For WDR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, let's rejoin our Accra correspondent Nadidi Tete for the newspaper review from Ghana.
Greetings and welcome to the newspaper review segment. Let's start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Families want state support for autism care. GT Bank's efforts commended, and Monday workshops focuses on inclusion and acceptance. Other stories here: over $227.6 million ECG contracts terminated. That's according to the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapo. Also here, former NPA boss Mustafa Hamid and 9 others charged for extorting 280 million Ghana cedis from oil companies. In teacher licensure exam phase out August 30. That's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. Now to the Ghanaian Times. No power outages, Energy Minister says. Now to the Chronicle newspaper. Fuel prices shoot up as Dumsor levy kicks in. The Daily Guide newspaper. NDC bigwigs hot over Galamsey, and Igbo community disowns so-called king in Ghana, and Parliament passes fisheries bill. 2 arrested for posing as gold board task force. The Daily Democrat. Mahama scores 63% in corruption fight survey. Polish Ghanaian photography collaboration deepens with ministerial courtesy call. Other stories here: Mahama records gains in energy sector reform. The Daily Searchlight newspaper. Minority raises questions over Ibrahim Mahama's gold mine deal. EB-ID connection hints of insider dealing with Finance Minister Ato Forson. Military kills 6 at Boku. NDC MPs enraged. The Daily Post newspaper. President Mahama holds Emergency Security Council meeting over Boku chieftaincy conflict. Finally, the Metro Lens. Over 20 trapped and 4 dead in a Chimwinchi Galamsey pit collapse. That will be it for the newspaper review segment. Is back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much. Our Accra correspondent Nadidi Tete with the newspaper review from Ghana.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Now, following the unsurprising resignation of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar from the People's Democratic Party (PDP), questions continue to swirl around the future of opposition politics in Nigeria. In this guest interview, public affairs analyst Omeza Ajayi shares his insights on the implication of Atiku's exit, what it signals for the PDP, and how it could reshape Nigeria's political landscape ahead of 2027.
I wasn't shocked at all. It had been long in coming, so it was not unexpected. And of course, like you said, this is not the first time he will be leaving the PDP. In 2006, when he saw that he was not going to get the ticket of the PDP, he left and joined the Defunct Action Congress, that is the AC. Then he returned to the PDP again in 2009. Then in 2014, when he saw that he was not also going to get the ticket from Jonathan, he also left the PDP, for the APC. But again, in 2017, he left the APC back to the PDP. and now he has left the PDP again to join the African Democratic Congress. So this is like the third time he will be leaving the PDP. He seemed to have some kind of obsession with getting the presidential ticket and being the president of the country.
A lot of people are suspecting that he might again want to be the flag bearer of the party. What will this mean for the strength that the coalition has gathered so far if Atiku eventually emerges as its flag bearer?
There are speculations that he's seeking the ticket of the ADC, and there are people who have said that the coalition was actually built around him. That is before they adopted the ADC. And of course, those who say that are not mistaken, because I recall that some months ago, when the issue of coalition was first announced, it was announced by Atiku Abubakar with some people. Peter Obi was not there, though he sent 2 representatives, Tanko Yunus and Chief Peter Ame. And of course, some other persons who were Atiku's allies were there. So Atiku was the first person to announce that they were planning to form a coalition. That was several months ago. So now, if he picks the ticket of the ADC, it will now be a straight fight between the North and the South. And I am inclined to think that, going by what we are hearing, many people in the South who support the coalition, they are likely not going to support Atiku if he picks that ticket. Because the issue, what people are saying, some people are saying is that why is it that whenever a Southerner is the president of the country, the North will always come up to say it's time up, they want to take over. So why not allow the Southerner to do it? So there is that sentiment. So there are people who are just waiting that, okay, and then you have the obedience, the Peter Obi movement.
A very powerful bloc in the coalition.
Yes, if Atiku picks that ticket, there is no guarantee that they are going to remain in that coalition to back Atiku. They are likely going to opt out, for another platform because Peter Obi has declared, at least on 2 occasions now, that he is not going to deputize anybody, that he is going to contest for the presidency in 2027.
So what will this mean for the APC and the nature of the 2027 election generally, should Atiku, insist and go ahead and get the ticket?
What the implication is that things might just pan out well or turn out positive for the APC. Because if he gets the ticket, if Atiku gets the ticket of the ADC, and the obedient tendency in the ADC pulls out of the ADC, then what we are going to see will be a replay of what happened in 2023, where instead of joining forces, Obi contested in the Labour Party and Atiku contested in the PDP. And they split the votes that otherwise they would have gotten together to defeat Tinubu in that election.
Well, public affairs analyst Omeza Ajayi. Quickly in sports, lawyers of Amina Bangura, the sole female candidate in the race for Sierra Leone Football Association as president, are contesting a fraud allegation brought against her, calling it an unproven damage. Elsewhere, Kenya's President William Ruto has called on the Harambee Stars of Kenya to chase victory on home soil as they prepare for the first ever appearance in the Total Africa Cup of Nations Championship CHAN. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Sek Njai for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X and Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. In the meantime, stay tuned as we rejoin our team in the ongoing debate on the security situations in the Sahel, particularly close to the Senegalese borders. I am Sankule Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 1.